My name is Chris. I'm the founder and CEO of CreatorVerse. And so what we're doing at CreatorVerse is we're building the world's #1 social token exchange. And so, what are social tokens? Essentially, they're a cryptocurrency that represents people. And so our platform is for creators and influencers that have 50,000 or more subscribers or followers. And on our platform, they'll be able to raise money from their communities. So really happy and excited to get this thing going because, in its full form, creators will be able to come on and raise money for their endeavors, raise hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, depending on how big they are. And currently, for our project, we're in our seed stage financing, and we're currently in the process of raising funds. So it's a really exciting time. It's fun to do the fundraising circuit. I could talk about that, but also today, I'm tasked with talking about influencer marketing and also a little bit about copywriting. And so, I want to provide a lot of value on this call, and I'll go pretty quickly about a lot of points. So feel free to take some notes down, sharing some of my secrets that, I've developed over the last, 5 or 10 years working, just working in general. So hopefully you guys can take some value from this call. So for influencer marketing, I'll start off before I share a presentation and talking about my background with it. My first project as an entrepreneur, by the way, highly recommend being an entrepreneur. It's an incredible thing to do. You work on your own time, and a lot of the success you have, goes to you, and you can provide a lot of opportunities to other people as well. But my first project was very small. I wanted to sell a book about an influencer of sorts, or is actually a presidential candidate running for president of the United States. His name was Andrew Yang, really cool guy. Didn't win, but we had a lot of fun on the campaign trail. But I wanted to sell a book about him because he had a very, very special campaign, and he touched a lot of lives and had a lot of great ideas. So I had an idea for a coffee table book about Andrew Yang and his campaign. And, each page was about some of the special moments from his campaign. And so I had the idea, and I started off, and I made I think it was Indiegogo, which is like a Kickstarter crowdfund platform. And I started off, and it was like $25 a book. And I had to sell pre-sales of the book in order for it to happen. It was $25 a book or $40, depending on which discount code you had. In the initial 3 or 4 months, I went off and talked to people about the project, and I made a really beginner level website. It's my first project, and it sold like $300 worth of books in the first few months. But then, as I started to get more close to the community and Andrew Yang, and I realized there was actually a lot of influencers who talked about Andrew Yang on a daily basis, and they'd make videos, recaps, or vlogs about the stuff they're doing with Andrew Yang. And there's in that is somewhat of a small community. Presidential candidate, some of his closest followers and biggest fans. There's probably 4 or 5 main influencers who spoke about Andrew on their YouTube channels. And as I started to meet these people through events and just networking, I had the idea, okay, well, let me put this book that I'm making out on their YouTube channels, and let me see if they'll do that and see what can happen with that. So I was able to actually, I reached out to, pretty much all the influencers, and I was able to secure, they commit to promoting my book on some of their videos. And the reason, this is why I fell in love with influencer marketing because after they promoted my book on their channels, I found we had like $4,000 to $5,000 in sales from just, every day from each video. So we ran like 3 videos, I think, in the course of 3 weeks. And each day that one of these influencers put a video out, we'd get about $5,000 in volume, which was a huge increase from $300. So we ended up reaching our goal with this influencer campaign. And the cool, really, exciting thing was that actually they committed to helping promote my product for free, completely. So I ended up getting just like, ridiculous ROI on that. And I realized that influencer marketing is very special and can be very effective because a lot of influencers, they cultivate a very close-knit community who very, very much follow them. And the more authentic and the more trustworthy and true these creators are, the influencers are, the more that their communities will be willing to back what they promote. So obviously it's a challenge sometimes to get creators, influencers to actually back your product. But if you can get influencers to be on board with what you're doing, you can see some massive ROI and very quick growth. Different than on other channels. And really, influencer marketing in general is a new concept because social media is somewhat new. YouTube came out less than 15 years ago, and really started to get running at the pace it is now. Just 5 or 10 years ago. So this is a new arena, and it's not totally utilized, I don't believe. A lot of people see the benefits of it, and they're starting to get in on influencer marketing. But to that point, on the contrary, a lot of people haven't. So with that being said, I'm going to share my best practices for influencer marketing. And first, I want to mention, by the way, my background behind me. Shouts out to Salon. I've been working with Salon since last year, and the artwork they've produced is incredible. Gosha talking about videos in his chat. The video that Salon's created for CreatorVerse is a minute and a half explainer video, and it's the feedback we've got on that is incredible. It's always positive. So thank you, Salon, for making that, and very much trust them to create awesome artwork. So with that being said, let me pull up this nice slideshow here. And so yeah, today, influencer and copywriting, gave you a little bit of background on influencer, my experience with that. And so I'll share some of the practices that I found working with influencers, developing my company, CreatorVerse, and partnering with key opinion leaders. And the first thing you want to make sure you do is identify a correct influencer, because let's say a fitness influencer sharing workout routines, they're not going to be helpful with cryptocurrency necessarily. So it's very important to obviously identify the right type of partnership. And I mentioned in my story earlier about Andrew Yang and the presidential candidate, and the influencers I partner with were speaking about him on a constant basis, and that very much made sense. There's a lot of synergy there. My book is about Andrew, and those influencers talked about him. So first step, number one, go ahead and find the type of influencers that are very in line with your product. And it's also important to do that because in order for them to even accept working with you, you need to have synergies there. The second thing is, not all influencers are the same. And really, it's like not all followers are the same. One influencer or creator can have 1 million followers, and that may not be as effective as an audience as someone that has 10,000. There's some studies, or there was a study done, I should say, a case study about an influencer who sold T-shirts, certain demographic. She wanted to sell T-shirts. I think she had like 1 million followers or something like that. But the end of that was, I think they sold like none T-shirts, like 0 or 1, very small amount of T-shirts with 1 million followers. And then you have some influencers that sell courses, with 10,000 followers that can sell, 10, 20 courses at $1,000 each. And so truly, it's really important to focus on the audience, the type of engagement they're getting. And so what you can do is you want to see kind of, when you're vetting an influencer, you want to work with one, you want to make sure you're getting one that's going to have metrics that are going to, lead to success. So likes obviously is important, comments, but it's really the type of comments. And I want to share a recent experience I had with an influencer who I was thinking about bringing on. We're introduced to them by someone. And so I'll pull up the video on their channel here. And we don't need to have the sound on this, but essentially this person, has 69,000 subscribers. You can see this video in particular has 8,000 views. And this person is a cryptocurrency influencer. We're thinking about partnering with them to talk about CreatorVerse. Now, I've been introduced to, I think it was like 20 or so influencers in the last few weeks, going through the circuit there and finding out who's good to partner with there. And really, it's so important to look at not just like kind of looking at their videos necessarily, like, is this someone I want to partner with? But the comments are so important to identify kind of what type of engagement is this influencer bringing out of their community. Because the more excited the community is about the creator or the influencer, the more effective this spot's going to be. And so this is like an extreme example, okay? Because I'll go through some of these comments. Basically, you've seen here is like these kind of odd comments that I found. Great find, Brandon. Great network, love it. Love this video. Going to farm, thanks to Brandon. I don't know if that is going to go to farm. These are fairly generic comments I'm finding. And what I realized And I asked the person who introduced me to this influencer, do you know this person? Because these comments actually lead me to believe that this particular influencer, I don't want to, just hopefully you guys don't cancel this person. I don't want to be canceled for what I'm saying, but I'm fairly certain at this point that this influencer actually has gone ahead and bought almost all of their subscribers and all of their engagement. And it's gone to the point where it looks like they're buying comments that are specific to this influencer. And it's like a sneaky tactic. So you have to really watch out. Because by comparison, when you get in this space and you kind of look at different influencer engagement, you'll see this is actually really odd, these sort of comments. And again, it seems like almost all of these comments are fake, which, it can be somewhat lucrative because this particular influencer actually wanted to charge our company $5,000 for a spot. And so if he can get, one or two people a month to take the bait, he's making some good money. It's clearly a scam though. And so I, went ahead and told our partner that, this person may not be legit. And we will not be working with them. But that's really important. And it really goes kind of both sides to see what kind of engagement's going on. Again, not all influencers are the same. Not all followers are the same because there's really kind of like a high end and a low end of what kind of engagement's going on with these people and what are they bringing out of their community. And the more excited the community is about the influencer, the more effective that your spot will be within their content. And of course, likely that the ones that have the best communities will be charging more, but it actually makes a difference. Not all views are going to be the same effectiveness. So let's go back to the slideshow here. So give me a little bit of insights on how to, vet key opinion leaders and type of engagement metrics to look for and how to kind of go in and do a dive and see if there's someone you want to work with. Now let's talk about actually approaching these people because it's actually not easy. And obviously, one way you can go about it is partnering with an agency. Some of these influencers will have an agent and have management, but a lot of them don't, and it probably can save on price that way as well. And really, the type of influencer I'm talking about is the one with 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 subscribers or followers. When you start to get above 300,000, 400,000, it's typically tough to just get in contact with them. But still, those influencers with like less than 500,000 followers, they're still very effective. So I want to show to you an exact message that I sent to an influencer with 30,000 followers on Instagram. And actually, he's the head of production for FaZe Rug. So FaZe Clan is one of the biggest social media groups, and they have people with millions of followers. And for example, we're targeting FaZe Rug because I've worked with him in the past. And so I actually reached out to the head of production for FaZe Rug. Again, he's about 30,000 followers on Instagram. And so his name is Clint. And so this is the exact message I want to share with you, kind of how you can get in contact with these people and share a message that will get them interested because they're getting messages like every day. I remember one of my influencer partners I worked with, he has 70,000 subscribers on YouTube and on Instagram about 20, 30,000. I asked him, how many DMs do you get a day? He said like 8 to 10, right? So every day he's getting, just DMs about his content or just anything, partnership inquiries. So you have to send something that stands out, especially if they're getting more than that. These bigger influencers get like thousands of messages a day. But so this message here, I'll read it. I said, hey, Clint, last year I founded a startup. We've done about $1 million. Now we're pivoting to something in the influencer space. I'm looking for someone who's knowledgeable about influencers to have a one-on-one conversation with. Was wondering if you'd be able to do that, willing to proactively offer $100 an hour for the conversation because I don't think this is something that should be unpaid. Let me know. And so I want to break this down on kind of 3 parts, and this is kind of how I approach influencers, and you can use this as well. So the first thing you want to do is you want to share something cool about what you're doing or your company. And this is the beginning stage. This is actually from early 2021. So this is when I just started, working for CreatorVerse, working on CreatorVerse. And so I had come off a recent success from another business where we've done a good amount of revenue. And so I want to share something cool about what we're doing, and really it's important to kind of catch their attention. So in my case, I shared about my previous company I had just been working on before this one. And this can be something, anything that you think would the influencer or creator might find cool or interesting. So once you've kind of shared something interesting about yourself, you then want to talk about how you think they're relevant to what you're doing, because this is actually a really important part in making sure that you talk about something about them that is actually very relevant or important for what you're doing, because that's why they're needed, and it shows them, oh, okay, and this person actually might need me or does need me, or I'm happy to help because I could help out here. So you want to explain to them how they could help, and I accomplished that, with talking about how looking for someone who's knowledgeable of influencers. Well, this person works with one of the biggest creators, FaZe Rug. He has 20 million subscribers on YouTube. He makes $1 million a month, and so that's the line here. So it's it's something interesting about yourself, how they're relevant to you, and then you want to show that you're serious. Not in this situation, I offered $100 an hour. This is just to get the foot in the door with. Again, if we were able to partner with FaZe Rug, it's a very big win for us. So willing to offer that $100 an hour to speak with this person. I actually use this kind of message consistently. And obviously, it's not the same exact message, but this sort of structure when approaching influencers. And I want to let you know that even though I've offered like $100 an hour or $200 an hour, and I'm willing to absolutely pay that. But a lot of the times they're saying, after the call or before the call, they'll say, "Oh, you don't have to pay me." So, but you want to show you're serious, though. I find that works a lot better. And I've even noticed that through somewhat, A/B testing, that if if you don't talk about how you're willing to offer some sort of rate, then they don't respond to you. And then, again, they don't even want the money at the end of the call, but just to show that you're serious, somewhat important. And, this doesn't necessarily apply to people or within your close network. You don't necessarily have to offer them money, but if there's someone you don't really happen to know at all, it's like a cold approach or a cold message. You want to show you're serious like that, and they'll appreciate it. And then, to finish it off, call to action and a little bit of a casual, but LMK or let me know sort of thing. So this is kind of the framework. To recap it, share something interesting about yourself. Tell them why they're relevant to your project or why it's good for you that you want to talk to them. Show that you're serious somehow, and then call to action. So there's 4 steps. I find this to be somewhat effective. It's got me in touch with even like, I don't know if you know Casey Neistat. He's a very prominent creator from New York City, tens of millions of followers. But he gave me his phone number a couple of years ago when we were discussing a project together, just based off this sort of framework. And so it's effective, and I hope you all can use it in your endeavors in approaching people of status or people that are tough to get a hold of. So let me go ahead with the next slide. Okay. So in the last month, I've been negotiating partnerships with a number of influencers, and it's the one thing I want to just point out is it is very much a negotiation. It's so there's no set number, and sometimes creators will have a set number for certain types of spots or tweets or retweets or videos, interviews. But at the same time, my experience is that it's just generally a negotiation. So do know that going into it, it's a negotiation. I think I had a situation where someone wanted to, they asked for $3,000 for a video or an interview, and I didn't believe that was worth it based on my experience. Me working with other influencers, I thought it was more worth like $800. And it was interesting because I did say that. I said this is probably $800 for that, which is very, very much very different than 3,000, right? A lot lower, and we ended up settling at like 1,200. So just know that when you're working, if you're going to work with influencers or creators, and you're speaking with them one-on-one without their agent, and even with their agent, it's a negotiation. So please keep that in mind, and you can save yourself some money to allocate to other partnerships if you have a set budget. It's always good to save money, if you're running a business or working in marketing. With that being said, also I want to share that sometimes when you do get the right opportunity, I kind of keep this in my back pocket. I negotiate just because at a principle you should be negotiating pretty much every sort of deal. And now we're talking about negotiations, but if you get the right deal, right away. Just, I also kind of understand, like, don't necessarily negotiate it. If it's like someone you really want to work with, I would recommend, there's some, like, 2 or 3% of the time, just don't negotiate it, because you want to secure the partnership. I remember I did that with one of my original business partners with my last company. He came at me with, okay, let's partner together. I want 20%, the profits of this company. And, we were so early that, I usually would negotiate, but I just said, yes, let's do this. I could say 18%, but I just said yes. And we ended up, at that point, we had $0 in revenue. We ended up doing about $4 million in revenue. So I'm very happy to have accepted that, and not, potentially lost a partnership or something like that. Just keep that in mind as well. All right. So now you finally partner with the influencer. Congratulations. They're on board, right? Now, my experience with this and my recommendation is, what kind of content are they going to do about your product or your service or your company? And I would recommend that you always want to let the creator have creative control about the content, and let them do their thing, right? Because these people, they're creative people. They became an influencer because they want to be their own boss. So, let them really kind of be creative and explore ideas about how to promote your company. I would say that's like the best practice, and they'll be most appreciative of that if you want to continue the partnership, or they want, you want them to really enjoy the experience of working with you. And I think usually when you let them do that, if they're a good creator, they're going to go ahead and actually, make some great content for you, because they're excited that they have the ability to make it. Now, at that same point, you do also want to stay obviously very involved and improve things. But there's like kind of like a fine line there between letting them kind of run wild and then also making sure you hit the key points. So that's my recommendation. Again, creators, they just want to make content. They want to be creative. And so let them do that. Let them run free. So that's it, about the influencer marketing. I hope you've got some good points about that one. I hope if you're running a campaign or if you're marketing in the future, I hope you think about what I said, and it helps out. I hope it is effective in some ways. And if you missed anything, you can go back, I think, in the recording this to get some points. So hopefully that helps out. And I want to transition now to copywriting. I did a lot of research about copywriting the last year, and I learned some really fun things and cool things from Apple. Actually, they actually have a really consistent copywriting style, and so there's a couple of key secrets that they use for their copywriting on a product by product basis. And it's always, there in some shape or form, whether it's the Apple Watch or the iPad or the iPhone. And so there's 4 points, and I'm going to go over them here. I use them for CreatorVerse, and I plan to use them in the future as we continue to write more copy. And so really, you can't go wrong with Apple, right? Apple's like #1 company in the world, maybe besides Google, in my opinion. And so they've done it right. You can't really knock what they've done, and so if to take something from them, it's probably going to work out for you. And obviously, not all of it will. Don't do it 100%. Don't just be a copy of Apple. But let's go over the 4 points. So number 1, what they do is they use rhyme. And just an example here is fumble, bumble, and tumble resistant. Now this is for the iPhone's new casings to prevent cracking or something. But you can see kind of using the rhyme there. So if you're talented at rhyming, don't be afraid to implement them to copyright and headliners. And just over everything, all these tips and secrets. One thing I always want to make sure is everyone knows about copywriting. You really always want to make sure that the copy is tailored to the user. So what's the benefit to them? And so using the word you are going to have this benefit. And so I think one trap people can fall into is to talk about just the specs of the product. It's got 10x processing speed, which is good, or it's 30-inch monitor, right? But maybe a better way to go about it is to say, for the processing speed, to say this is a quicker phone, so you can get things done quicker. You're going to have less loading times, right? So it's how does that matter to the customer? Having that as your base framework for your copywriting is #1 basic thing to know about copywriting. So I want to make sure everyone kind of and that's my experience, and I want to share that with you before we dive into the rest of these tips. But number 2 is to pair opposites. So heavy, light, slow, fast, like pairing different feature, adjectives that are on either ends of the other sides of the the level there. That's going to be a good way to highlight features. Apple's done that as well. So pairing opposites. What can I do to think of one part, one aspect here, and then pair with the complete opposite? Light versus dark. Happy versus sad, maybe. So all sorts of different comparisons there. Apparently, it strikes a chord with the users there. So number 3, repetition. It's like using the same words. This example: more power, more performance, more pro. So that's another one you can implement into your skill set there for copywriting. And number 4 is my favorite one: custom puns. So this is like fun exercise. I really enjoy doing this. It's like you have to kind of think about it for a while, but there's this pun out there: survival of the fittest. So what does Apple do? Arrival of the fittest. And that's probably for the Apple Watch, or maybe for the AirPods they're very snug within your ear. So arrival of the fittest. And then full speed ahead, full screen ahead. So they'll take a pun, like a standard pun, and then they'll change one word that will be a adjective of the product or an aspect of the product, and then they'll implement that in the pun. And one of our advisors, thank you, his name's Steph, he sent me a book of puns. So there's like 300, or it's more, it's like 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 puns in this book. They're just like line by line, pun after pun. And so if you're copywriting, you can actually look at these puns, just look at them and try to think about how you can implement them into your copy. And I'll show you an example here of that specific thing we did with CreatorVerse. And I think it's down here. So like for this one, there's like that, puns, kind of like a multitude of benefits. And I've heard that before. So we use a multiverse of benefits that are really kind of crypto aligned, or Web3 with like metaverse, multiverse, all that stuff. And then actually you can see even here, this is the repetition: extraordinary platform for extraordinary creators with extraordinary communities. So we've used both of those styles in this one line here, and this one copy header. This one may recognize to CreatorVerse and beyond. And that's from Toy Story. Shouts out to Gosha for the Toy Story marketing today. That was really cool. To infinity and beyond, right? That's the Toy Story line. And so to CreatorVerse and beyond is what we use, kind of for the pun there. So that is, that's how we use it. It's a fun exercise. Personally, when I sit down writing copy, get with business partner, just workshop different copy ideas, sit there looking at puns for an hour. It's actually fun to try to come up with their own that can be interesting to the user. So that is. So bring back the presentation here. So that is all. I hope everyone enjoyed. Hope someone took some value somewhere. Uses this. If you have any questions, I know I promised to actually give away a few free consultations. So if you had more questions, or you wanted to work with me specifically on workshopping copy, or some questions about influencer campaigns, I think I'm giving away a few free 30-minute consultations. If anyone wants to, I'd love to learn more about your project. If whoever wins those, you can schedule that. And I'm looking forward to chat with you all. And if there's any questions, I know there's a Q&A, so I'll leave that up to the floor now. Thank you.
Chris, thank you so much. Again, I was chatting to our team while you were presenting and texting him, and I thought this should be like a $5,000 masterclass in terms of the info that you presented. And we do have a couple of questions, and there's 3 or 4 big ones that I think are pretty interesting. The first one being, first of all, they thank you for the presentation. And then they asked, what is the biggest challenge to work with influencers? What should I pay attention to when creating an influencer campaign?
I think the biggest challenge working with influencers is actually just getting in touch with them. These people are highly sought after. And so if you're able to establish a relationship with an influencer, or maybe equally as effective as someone who knows an influencer or like a network, then you can really go far with them. But just getting in contact with them and being able to start the relationship is not easy. And a recommendation I have for that is we have an advisor from TikTok. Her name's like Wendy, and she has 300,000 followers. So we actually were fortunate to bring her on as advisor back in early 2021. I think we sent her $1,000 for 10 hours of advising, right? So $100 an hour, which was a great deal because now a year later, she's grown so much, and now she charges $500 an hour. But she's still honoring that $100 for us, so it's really great. But she's a part of the reason why we were able to work with some of the influencers we are so far. So I'd suggest that if you want to do an influencer campaign, you want to partner with someone first who can introduce you to those influencers, and from there, let them kind of help you out, show them your product, explain your product, and they'll give you some information on how they can integrate it into their content.
Got it. Next question, maybe a little bit controversial, and if it's something that you don't want to get into the details of, one of the viewers asked what happened there, as in referring to the campaigns in the book you wrote or helped write, and what is the crowdfunding campaign behind that? And then in quotes, they said people are saying on Twitter and Reddit that the coffee table book was never published. Maybe you can give a comment on that if possible.
Oh yeah, so that was my first entrepreneurial effort. And so basically, like we had done the Kickstarter campaign, and we had raised $15,000. At the end of the day, actually, what the insights was that what actually had happened with that specifically was that Kickstarter thought that it was a political campaign, and it's against terms of service. So they actually had to refund all the $15,000 we raised. It was like the worst day of my life. It was like, my friend texted me, he goes, "I just got a refund for the book I bought." And I go, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." Everyone got refunded. And so we did a second round to try to raise, and we only did like 7,000, which wasn't enough to fund the book. And so I actually had this really great experience though of like, the reason why I'm able to talk about influencer now is because of working with those people. That was like 3 or 4 years ago, a long time. It was my first kind of big, thing I was trying to do. But at the end of the day, we actually had to refund everyone of their money, refund the 7,000. So everyone, was returned, but you learn something and you go from there. So, yeah.
Do you have any regrets at all in terms of what happened there, or is it something that you look back on positively?
Yeah, I think the one thing I regret was basically not trying to raise a lot more. I think because I undershot. I think it was pricing the book a little bit too small, because sometimes you want to have more than enough than just what's needed. But really no regrets, because I really recommend people as an entrepreneur, you have to take risks, you have to try your best, and you just want to you have to try to succeed. If you don't, you fail, that's okay, because that's learning. And I think there's a really big creator named Ninja. He's a streamer. He said, if you lose and you didn't learn, then you've actually lost twice, right? So by learning from experience, you actually gain knowledge that's helpful for the next time, right? And so actually after that book project, I went on to start a company. Just as 4 or 5 months after that, I started a company that's done $4 million in revenue. So it's I learned from that $10,000 experience into making a $4 million experience because of the learnings I had there. And so I'm happy. It was a path towards success. Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. My last question is, there is some debate in terms of the future of influencer marketing, just because certain creators, as you said, they have fake views, they have fake comments. How can that be avoided? And does that prevent the influencer and creator and KOL marketing industry from growing more rapidly than it is currently?
I think that the fake comments, the fake bots, it's actually a crypto related thing. I think because there's like a lot of value in that. Like there's a lot of benefit to them having that. With Twitter in the news these days, you see like, oh, how many fake people on Twitter are there? I think generally in the main this creator economy, there's not as much of that going on. But the cool thing is, and like the good thing is, as a business person or like an operator, you can really go in there and look at the comments. You can see like, what are people saying? Do people like this creator? Are there, is there actually engagement? Is there like an emotional sort of relationship there between the communities and the creators? And you can actually see that. So you can really weed out those people who don't have those authentic communities. And I think the future of the creator economy is untapped. I mean, we're just in the beginning of it. YouTube, again, has only gotten big in the last 5 years, and you have people making, millions of dollars a month from there. So with that sort of reward, you're going to see the best talent in the world kind of flock to creating their own social channels, creating awesome content, and building these great communities. So if you can find those people early on and start, potentially like work with them, you're in a great position, because as they get bigger, if you keep the relationship, you're gonna have benefit from that. So, I see a really good future in the creator economy. Yeah, even with that.
Got it. Thank you so much. Once again, Chris, thank you for coming out. Everyone in the chat is also writing big thanks to you and for the valuable information. Anything else you want to say? Maybe shout out someone or any advice or tips before you go here?
No, shouts out San Diego, community of San Diego. I know some people from there are here on the call. And again, Gosha, thank you. Salon Media, you guys put on a great event so far, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.